But the Audi Blitzkrieg was stoppable, and this is the car which stopped it, the Peugeot 205 T16. The French company had made the decision to contest the World Rally Championship as soon as the Group B regulations were announced. They saw it as a way to further promote the capabilities of the already popular 205 GTI road car, and they employed former top rally co-driver Jean Todt to mastermind the project. Todt, of course, has since gone on to even greater things. In the mid-90s, he became the boss of the Ferrari Grand Prix team. Always a thinker and a planner, Jean Todt examined the Group B regulations and determined that the way to go with the Peugeot project was to follow the path Renault had mapped out with their R5 Turbo. Take the basic front-engined front-wheel drive layout and scrap it. The engine was moved to the mid-car position, behind the driver but ahead of the rear axle, just like all other successful competition car layouts of modern times. To maintain the compact dimensions of the original 205 GTI, and so keep an easily recognizable family resemblance, the turbocharged engine was mounted transversely. The spare wheel of the 205 Turbo 16 resides where the engine lived in the original. Even though the T16 is short and compact, the designers kept the wheelbase as long as possible so that the handling would be accurate and predictable, rather than having the nervous characteristics of short wheelbase machines. The Turbo 16s were all built in a competition shop set up especially for that purpose. Back in those days, Peugeot was not involved in either Formula One or long-distance sports car racing, so it could concentrate all its time and budget on this single program. Unlike the Renault R5 Turbo, the rival French Marque's rally effort was to be a totally concentrated one. This concentration of time, budget and effort was to pay huge dividends. Things didn't go always 100% right, but in general, the Peugeot World Championship effort of 1985 was one of the most successful rally campaigns of all time. The 205 Turbo 16 was first seen in 1984, when the Audi steamroller seemed ready to flatten all comers. But even in its development season, it became obvious that the little French car had no intention of being flattened. The Peugeot was more compact than the Audi, it was lighter, it was more nimble in the areas where the Audi struggled, like on the tight tarmac stages, and it had four-wheel drive for optimum traction. Even while Audi was busy winning double titles in 1984, it was casting nervous glances in the direction of the Peugeot team and sending memos back to the competitions department at Ingolstadt. They read, "Don't stop the development programs just because we're winning." Audi were right to be nervous, because what they didn't know was something that Peugeot's engineers weren't telling anyone. The ace that the French team were playing very close to their chest was the fact that their 1985 engine would have a Formula One type turbocharger that would boost the power output of the little 1800cc four-cylinder engine to a minimum of 435 horsepower. If necessary, that figure could be pumped up to over 500 on maximum turbo boost. Not only was the Peugeot lighter and more manoeuvrable than the still bulky Audi, but it also had just about as much horsepower. Obviously, Peugeot's opposition had suspected that their backs might be against the wall in 1985, but they could have had no idea just how pressed against the brickwork they were going to be. However, they found out very quickly. Just 1 week into the new year, Ari Vatanen won the Monte Carlo Rally, victory in the event that every French rally team dreams of winning. Ari followed that up with another win in the snows of Sweden, then a crash in Portugal, followed by a bigger one in Corsica and an even bigger, near-fatal one in Argentina, which put paid to the Finns' title hopes. The mantle was taken up by his less erratic fellow countryman Timo Salonen. He picked up his first win in Portugal after Vatanen's crash, and then added 4 more in Greece, New Zealand, Argentina and his native Finland. Even though there was still the San Remo event left on the calendar, Salonen was able to celebrate an emphatic World Championship victory in front of his home fans. Of course, Peugeot were also victors in the Manufacturers' Championship, only 4 years or so after making the decision to contest the series. It was in October 1981 that Jean Todt had announced his retirement from co-driving to take up the appointment of Peugeot's Director of Competitions. At the start of 1982, the team revealed its intentions to enter the World Rally Championship for a first full season in 1985. By May 1984, the 205 Turbo 16 made its World Championship debut. By August 95, it was World Champion. Such was the pace of development in Group B rallying that the Lancia 037, which had won the World Manufacturers' Championship in 1983, was fading out of the picture in 1984 and was really just an also-ran in 1985. To match the opposition, a four-wheel drive car was needed, preferably a powerful and compact one like the Peugeot. This is what Lancia came up with, in the shape of the S4 rally version of their little Delta saloon. It was even more advanced than the Peugeot and used a combination of both supercharging and turbocharging to achieve the fullest possible power curve, from initial pickup to the highest RPM. The S4 had the most advanced engine in the series, and Lancia was confident that if they had to, the power could be boosted to over 600 horsepower. Actually, they never needed it. Henri Toivonen's first outing with the car brought a win on the 1985 RAC rally, humbling even the title-winning Peugeots. In 1986, the young Finn started as he left off the previous year, simply dominating the Monte Carlo rally. This time, it was Peugeot which was getting nervous. Development in Group B was getting faster and faster. Toivonen also led the Swedish rally for Lancia, but went out with engine problems, giving the win to a new Peugeot driver, Juha Kankkunen. Even at this stage, it was obvious that there was likely to be a titanic battle for the championship, and that most people's money would be on Lancia. Toivonen had hit absolutely peak form at exactly the same time that Lancia had come up with what most people felt was the ultimate Group B car. But it all ended in tragedy. On Thursday, May 2nd, 1986, Henri Toivonen was in a class of his own and leading the Corsican rally by a huge margin. Then, the Lancia plunged off the mountain road and down into the trees. Both Toivonen and his co-driver Sergio Cresto were killed instantly. A year to the day after Lancia had lost another star driver, Attilio Bettega, when he crashed his 037 on the same rally. As they had a year earlier, the whole Lancia team withdrew from the rally on receiving the news of Toivonen's death. The challenge of the S4 for World Championship honours was, to all intents and purposes, over and done with, as was Group B. This latest in a catalogue of tragic accidents, including spectator deaths in Portugal, led the International Automobile Federation to say enough is enough. Truly, they felt, the cars had become too fast to race. Not every car in Group B enjoyed success. As in any form of motorsport, there were those who didn't make it. Some of them might have if Group B had gone on longer, but we shall never know. Cars like this Citroen BX4TC, which appeared in 1986. Certainly it had potential, with four-wheel drive and a 430 horsepower engine, and Citroen later proved their rally capabilities with wins in the Paris-Dakar. But the history books will simply show that the three-car Citroen team all retired from the Acropolis Rally in 1986, loaded their broken cars and the rest of the gear onto the ship back to France, and were never seen again. The Group B Opel Manta actually did win an event, or would have done had not the organisers of the 1982 Mille Pistes International in France decided to ban prototypes while the event was actually in progress. Henri Toivonen was forced to give his first place award to a production car and accept a special prize instead. A year later, the Evolution version of the Manta 400 appeared and became a solid and reliable winning performer at national level. It could never, however, cut it with the big boys in the World Championship, and Opel, who had taken Walter Röhrl to the World Drivers' title in 1981, gradually faded from the Group B scene. Had the German team and its General Motors UK counterpart Vauxhall enjoyed the same budgets as Audi, Peugeot and Lancia, the story might well have had a happier ending.